This is Koreascape on TBS EFM 101.3 megahertz in Seoul and surrounding areas. Time to talk once again about the business of leisure and travel in Talking Tourism. We have our own professional tourist by the name of Jiemin Yoon, who studies all this stuff in depth, and she brings us some new themes and topics in the business of tourism, especially Korean tourism. Hey, Jiemin.
Hello.
So every time I don't see you for a week or so, it seems you've been halfway across the world and back. Is that the case this week?
Well, this week we are still in the travel week, so I've been traveling around within Korea.
Within Korea.
I was in Donghae last weekend, and I was in Pocheon this Tuesday, and I was in Busan yesterday.
Okay, just kicking back and putting your feet up, or were you studying something around those places?
I was just filming videos and just wandering around to see beautiful cities and stuff.
So is that kind of where we're headed today in terms of, we're talking about traveling around Korea and local stuff that people can enjoy?
Yeah, since we're still in the travel week, which will end this weekend, during the travel week, and also May has been so popular month for the local festivals. There are so many festivals going on nationwide as the weather is amazing at this time of the year.
It definitely is amazing. It's almost a little bit on the hot side.
Yeah.
I've always wondered, there's so many festivals, unbelievable amount of festivals. Are they just completely operating independently of each other, or is there any kind of central coordination of the festivals?
Well, I looked up on the official website of the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, and they have this section of local festivals, and there were 75 local festivals listed on the website, so there are quite many. And the local festivals are usually hosted or sponsored by the local government, as the purpose of having local festivals is to promote the local area and also facilitate the local economy by attracting visitors, and they make them to spend money within the local area.
Makes sense.
So they have various themes for the local festivals. Sometimes it's for the unique traditions, food, local products, or sometimes it's about person, like a character from the story. There is an Amon Chunhyangjae, which is from the traditional story, and also sometimes it's about the real person from the history, like Sejong Daewang, King Sejong.
That makes sense.
And if you look at the difference between the big cities and the local areas, for the big cities like Seoul or Busan, they tend to have culture and arts-related festivals, while small and medium-sized cities, most of them are in the countryside, so they have festivals for the local products or nature landscape, which is quite different.
It always struck me that the festival scene in Korea is pretty intense. It's almost unique in its own way in that there are so many culture-intensive festivals, and usually they weave in the local agriculture, possibly the local alcoholic brews, a few cultural performances. Does this kind of thing of local cultural festivals exist on any kind of similar scale elsewhere in the world?
Well, the biggest festival I've been in different countries is Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany.
Sure, of course.
It's one of the biggest festivals in the world. And I thought Oktoberfest starts in October because the name is Oktoberfest. But I found out when I was there, it starts in September and it ends at the very first week of October.
So it's not quite an Oktoberfest, really. It's more like an October preview fest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many people know the Oktoberfest as a beer festival because Germany is so known for the beer. But when I was there, it was not only about beer, but it was more like a folklore festival where all German families come out wearing their traditional Bavarian clothes.
Lederhosen, those sort of leather pants and suspenders, and usually a hat with a feather in them.
And a lot of tents selling beer, sausages, and local German food, and the ginger cookie necklaces, and all other traditional foods. And what I found interesting was that they have many rides like roller coasters or merry-go-round where like filling the whole area of the festival, which was really fun.
It's kind of unfair to compare, in a way, Oktoberfest to these little local festivals in Korea, because Oktoberfest is world famous. It gets people in from every corner of the world. These things that happen in Korea, they tend not to be super well publicized, and they tend to be very local in scope. Have you been to similar things that are very local in scope elsewhere in the world?
Well, as you mentioned, while Oktoberfest is a festival that is known worldwide, it may be too big and too popular to be called as a local festival. It's more like a world festival now.
There you go.
And small and community-oriented festival I have been was in Mexico. Valle de Bravo is a small city which is about 2 hours away from the Mexico City. It is a beautiful city known for its large reservoir surrounding the town and beautiful mountains. Many Mexican people and foreign tourists come and visit the city for water activities like jet skiing or also the paragliding.
That sounds fun.
They host a local music festival in first week of every October. The Mexican cities have the cathedral in every town, and their cathedral has its name after one of the Catholic saints, and the festival is held on that saint's feast day.
Okay, so the cathedral kind of makes a hub for the people to kind of gather around. Sounds nice. Valle de Bravo. I want to, I have a very good Mexican friend here in Korea. I want to ask her about that festival. She's converted me into a Mexican food freak here. So let's kind of sift through at least one or two local festivals in Korea. What's going on around this time of year or whenever you want to point to?
Well, as I have worked in the Seoul metropolitan government, the festival I want to mention is in Seoul, actually. It's the Seoul Lantern Festival. You know, this time is the Buddha's birthday season, which is tomorrow. Cheonggyecheon is filled with the lanterns for the Lotus Lantern Festival. So the Seoul Lantern Festival that I'm talking about is different from that.
Is it? Okay.
As Lotus Lantern Festival is more of the religious festival, the Seoul Lantern Festival is for more of the general public. The purpose of this festival is to boost the number of tourists in early winter time, which is the low season. So they put all the lanterns in Cheonggyecheon, and it's loved by the Seoulite, the local Seoul people.
Okay, just let me get it straight. Right now, though, at Cheonggyecheon, there are also the lanterns, right? And that's called the Lotus Lantern Festival?
Yes.
Okay, that's stunning. That is
that is
visually beautiful. If you can get there around dusk or sundown, hopefully before some of the crowds, it's one of the best visual treats in Seoul. And you're then talking about the Seoul Lantern Festival, which is later, kind of in fall, November. Also at Cheonggyecheon?
Yes, also at Cheonggyecheon, but the theme is very different. While Lotus Lantern is more about like religious, the Seoul Lantern Festival is for kids and families. They are more like a vibrant and like a general theme of the lantern.
I see. So it's not all Buddhist themes necessarily. It's could be themes from Korean history or kings or whatever.
The reason why I want to call this festival the Seoul Lantern Festival as a local festival, although it is taken right at the city center, is that this festival is loved by the people who in the surrounding area. As it's happening in Cheonggyecheon, a lot of people after work come to Cheonggyecheon and enjoy the festival. They just take a walk on the stream, which is really nice. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. I mean, Cheonggyecheon, people were, when I first got to Korea, it was just being dug and planted and all that stuff. And some people were a little skeptical about it, but it's unquestionably one of the best attractions in the city now. And when they do these festivals, it's just stunning.
The festival used to be called Seoul 등축제 in Korean, but had changed its name to Seoul 빛초롱 축제, which I like more. And
what does 빛초롱 mean?
It's like a light, and choron means in Korean, it's like a traditional lantern. It's
lights and lanterns.
So it's like a lights and lantern, which sounds more Korean, which I like about.
It does, yeah.
And the festival was firstly held in 2009, so it has quite a history.
Sure. Okay, you're still young. I mean, it's so what are we into? Like about the 8th year of it or 6th year? Let's see. Is there anything else to say about that particular festival?
Well, also I want to mention about the festival that will be happening in May. I was in Busan yesterday, and I went to Haeundae, and Haeundae was so into having this sand festival. They're having the Haeundae Sand Festival in late May.
Is it like sand sculpture and stuff?
Yes.
Awesome.
And Haeundae Beach, you know, is so wide and like large, so they will be filled with sand sculptures. And also on my way back to Seoul, I saw an advertising in KTX that the Ulsan Whale Festival is also on in May.
Wow. Ulsan Whale Festival. This is kind of dining on whales, I think, mostly, right?
Well, I think it's dining, it's more of the whale watching, I would say.
Whale watching out at sea.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of dining. I mean, Ulsan, you can draw a rough parallel between Ulsan and some of the whale tradition that goes on over in Japan. Right?
Yeah, well, I heard having whale, catching whale is illegal in Korea right now.
Yeah.
So they need to have like a whale meat, which if there is a dead whale
Yeah,
found
right.
on,
Or for research
yeah.
purposes, quote unquote,
But
right?
I guess there will be like more of that with the like ecosystem of the whale and so on.
All right, now I've always thought that these local festivals in Korea are kind of playing in the small leagues, right? They're nice once you get there, but attracting people to them and getting themselves publicized has always been sort of, hit or miss. Is there anything that these local festivals can do to, become more attractive?
Well, I think the most important factor for the local festival to be successful is to include the local community as much as possible. Because a lot of Korea's local festivals, as you have mentioned, they are criticized that they lack creativity and originality. They have like similar programs and they do like shows and so on. So most of the local festivals happening in the small cities, they do not have like any profits made for the actual local community members. So I personally think the first step to have a long-lasting local festival is to make the festival to be attractive to the local people and even the people living in the surrounding area. Because the local festival should be the opportunity for local community to gather and have fun together with their neighborhood. So tourists will naturally come and visit if the locals fully enjoy the festival, as there will be more to see and more to enjoy.
Well, it's interesting. Why go to a place in the first place if you're not going to get a flavor of the local community and get to rub elbows with these locals? I guess what I was wondering is, because these festivals happen on an annual basis, they happen the same time every year, and there are so many of them, there's dozens and dozens of them every year, isn't there some sort of place or kind of way they could cooperate with each other? They seem to operate as little independent cells. Couldn't they pool infrastructure? Couldn't they, run 3 or 4 buses out of Seoul or out of Busan or whatever, chip into a common fund and label 4 big colorful buses the Korea Festival bus and have them be pickup points at Gangnam or Seoul or wherever. I think that would be a dead simple idea to implement.
Yeah, well, that is more about infrastructure, I would say. But like the most important thing right now for each festival is that they need to have their own story and do the marketing very well. Because as they have like, although they have like a unique stories for the festival, they always have like a similar programs and everything. So they need to come up with more of the like a smart marketing point.
That's another thing they could pool, is pool their marketing. Get the same team of graphic designers and copywriters and translators working on all the festivals so that they all share the same basic graphic look, but they have their distinct story.
Yeah. And also like using social media would be very important too.
Pool social media.
Yeah.
Come on, festivals. I think you all got to get together. That's my point. Jiemin, that's our time for today. Thank you very much for talking tourism with us.
Thank you.
And Koreascape resumes right after this.
Can I get your pen for just one second? This is Nikki's